Hello and welcome to the Hot Corner, the all-baseball themed show here on LTV. I'm Brandon Magown, and I'm joined here today by Harrison Duhr. Harrison, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Appreciate it.
No problem. Well, we're just about 3 weeks into the season, which means we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. Our first question is, reliever Jim Johnson was taken out of the closer role for the Athletics after just 8 games into the season. Was this the right call for the A's so early in the season, Harrison?
This was absolutely the right call. In 8 innings pitched this season, he's given up 7 runs, along with 11 hits and 7 walks. Plus, I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen something like this from Jim Johnson. Last year, yeah, he had 50 saves, but he also blew 9.
Yeah, he went through a stretch where he did not look good, and he started blowing a lot of saves.
Yeah, he was on pace to break the all-time blown saves record, which I believe is 11. So for a while there, I think we all thought it was going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Orioles were so fine to just ship him out over to the Athletics.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, he's about $7 or $8 million this season, but
10 million actually. He's the second highest paid player on the team. That's why it hurts so much that they pulled him out of the closer role.
Exactly, but I mean, with Luke Gregerson, Sean Doolittle, and Ryan Cook, I mean, the options are there to have a very solid bullpen. And with Jim Johnson, you can only hope he gets maybe a mid, 6th, 7th inning role.
Yeah, well, so far I think they've been using him in the 8th inning, and he looked okay. I think he struggled again the other day, but so far Doolittle has 2 saves and Gregerson, I think, has 1. I think is right on there. So I mean, they're very solid relievers, and I think they're going to be fine for go closer by committee until Jim Johnson figures it out.
Absolutely, Luke Gregerson, he's had an ERA no higher than 3.24 in his entire career. He's already got a 1.2 ERA in 8 games this season. And then Sean Doolittle, if you need him in the ninth, he can take care of a lot of the tough lefties in the AL West. Prince Fielder, Sin-Soo Choo, Robinson Cano. Doolittle, I think, has the stuff to get those lefties out, considering lefties hit 188 off him and only 85 at bats last year.
Yeah, so. And I agree. I think that was another decision that prompted them to take him out so early in the season. I mean, I know we blew a save in the first game of the season, but that's such a tough division they're in right now. You don't want to fall behind. You have Texas. You have maybe the Mariners, but you have the Athletics too. I mean, it seems to be a tough division.
The Angels, you mean?
Yeah, so that's what I meant to say. Yeah. But I mean, it's a tough division, and they don't want to fall behind so much. So and it also makes you think, why did they just let Graham Balfour walk away so easily? It made no sense to me, but I think it was the right call for them to pull him out so soon. Yeah. But all right, let's move on to our second question. So even though it's still really early in the season, Major League Baseball's new replay system has been under a lot of fire recently. How do you actually think it's working out so far?
I'm not personally a big fan of it. I think it slows the game down a lot, and I think I would personally like it a lot if it was in the postseason. I think it'd be very efficient there because that's where the calls really matter. Yeah. I know everyone talks about, there's going to be a blown call here and there that can be very detrimental to a team or a player. I mean, Armando Galarraga, imperfect, perfect game is a good example there. But usually it evens out because it's a 162-game season. Very true. It's, as long as you're not getting crucial calls in the playoffs that are getting blown, then, it will work itself out. Even at the time, you don't think it will.
Exactly. Calls are blown before this replay system, and, I'm sad to say I think calls are going to be blown even with this replay system, as we've already seen. But I think overall, it's pretty good. It's, only been 2.5 weeks into the season so far. Things are bound to happen. This is so new. There's going to be hiccups and glitches. I think teams, even teams like John Farrell, the Red Sox, who are already dismissing this, they need to just give it a little bit more time because I ultimately think it's going to be very good for the game. But I agree with you about how it slows the game down. I think
and that's bad because pitchers, if they're in a groove and they have to wait 5 minutes to get the call overturned or whatever, it takes them out of that rhythm and they have to find that for the rest of the game.
Exactly, but
that's not good.
So far, I think the average time right now is about 2 minutes and 15 seconds, which I think a lot of umpires and players even want to speed it up a little bit. But 2 minutes 15 is not bad.
It's not bad. But that could still take a pitcher out of a rhythm.
Well, I mean, you look at it before when a manager comes out and spends about 2 minutes arguing and yelling at the umpire, and by the time they finally get him off the field, it's been right around the same time, if not longer. But I think what's really holding up this system is that every single close play, a manager strolls out of the dugout. He walks really slowly to the umpire, waiting for his eye in the sky to radio down.
Exactly. The first first minute there, he's just kind of playing pepper with them, just waiting to see if they should even challenge it or not. Yeah. So that's another minute wasted.
Exactly. So I think that something needs to happen where they just have a strict time limit where they come out and they say, hey, you didn't say you want to challenge it, your challenge is over. Yeah. But we'll see. All right, the next question, sort of in relation to the replay system, is the new rule of catchers not blocking the plate and runners not being able to run into them. Just like replay, this rule has had a lot of controversy in the early goings. So how do you think this new rule is going over so far?
I like it a lot. I know it's, taking one part of the game away from catchers and base runners, but I think it's very essential because we've seen some some brutal injuries in the last couple decades. I mean, even for an all-star game, something that's supposed to be fun and just something for the fans to enjoy. Ray Fosse, Pete Rose, that's one of the most famous instances. Ray Fosse never regained the star potential he had after that injury, and who would have thought in an all-star game he gets hurt? And even more recently, Buster Posey, 2011, he lost the majority of his 2011 season, and it really takes a special player like Buster Posey to not only come back and win Comeback Player of the Year, but MVP. Yeah. But most catchers are not Buster Posey, and most catchers are not going to come like that.
I think that's what really
and they're going to be like Ray Fosse.
I think what really spawned this new rule to happen so quickly is because such a great player and such a prized possession. Buster Posey was hurt, and it was a serious injury too. But I have to say, I hate this new rule. I'm a fan of Pete Rose, playing hard and doing whatever it takes to get that run. And that
it ruined Ray Fosse's career, though.
Well, then don't block the plate. That's my thing. I think if you don't want your players to be hurt, move them in front of the plate, move them to the side, and tell them, listen, don't block the plate at all. We'll give up that run. That's what Buster Posey and the Giants did, even before this new rule was instated. But so far, it's been so hard to tell because it's supposed to be up to the umpire's discretion, to say whether a catcher is blocking the plate or not. And a lot of times, a throw is bringing a catcher into the plate, and and he still doesn't have the ball, and he's blocking the plate, and so it's not being called. And even when they go to the replay, it's being missed. Umpires are not calling the blocking the plate, even though they are still doing it. And so it's letting the runner be a sitting duck out there. So I just don't like it. And, it's so hard to tell that.
Like you said, like the replay system, we're getting out, all the bugs and obstacles now, and then we're working our way to a more refined product.
I agree.
Just like the replay system.
I'm just not a fan of it. I love the big collisions at the plate, but,
Well, Ray Fosse would disagree.
Yeah, I guess I'm just going to have to get used to it.
I'm sure Buster Posey would too.
Yeah. Well, lastly, the Boston Red Sox All-Star Dustin Pedroia and ALCS MVP Koji Uehara have been sidelined recently with injuries. Pedroia with his wrist and Uehara with a shoulder issue. Though it seems, that both players are going to avoid a DL stint. So with that said, how big is it for the Red Sox that they won't be without these two players for much longer?
We're seeing right now the Red Sox are obviously in the midst of a championship hangover. It happens to almost every team in every sport. But I actually like that they're keeping them, on the bench, but not necessarily on the DL, because I think, usually this early in the season, everyone's trying to get back into the rhythm and the swing of things. We just saw with Curtis Granderson, he ran into the wall in Arizona. He's just taking a couple days off. He'll be fine. And I think the same for Uehara and Dustin Pedroia. Give them a couple days, maybe even a series or two. I think they'll be right back to their form.
Yeah, I think it's huge that the Red Sox, are not going to be without these players so much longer. Pedroia is such a key asset to that team, not only offensively but defensively. And Uehara, they found a gem last year with him, and so I think they really need to get him back in that closer role soon. Not that they don't have options. I think they set up pretty well. In case they had to be without him. They have Burke Badenhop. Chris Capuano, and maybe even the minors.
Capuano's been good, actually.
Yeah, I know. He's been
never been a reliever until
pitches,
this season. Yeah.
Really effectively. But I think they all don't have that much experience in the closer role, and I think in such a tough division, they need a guy like Uehara. Even though he didn't have much experience last year, he came in and he proved himself. And so far, these guys haven't really proven themselves so much. But also because they have a lot of injuries right now anyway. With Will Middlebrooks and Shane Victorino on the DL, and now yesterday, McNapoli dislocated his finger, and he might, who knows if he has to go on a DL stint or whatnot. So they're losing a lot of key starters, a lot of key offensive guys.
True, but you'd rather lose these guys now than in the summer race or the pennant race,
true.
Because you got to get those injuries at some point, and
you just never want to fall behind the 8 ball so soon and early.
You
in the
don't,
season,
but
especially in such a tough division.
Everyone's I think within 3 games of each other in the entire AL East, so I think they'll be fun. They're not like the Arizona Diamondbacks who are 4-13 and fastly falling, not out of just the divisional race, but the wild card race. So I think Boston, come May, maybe even late May, early June, I think they'll be okay.
But I just think it's huge for the Red Sox not to lose these guys. So it's such a key aspect to this team.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will. All right, well, that'll do it for our first segment. After the break, we'll jump into our rapid fire segment. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Hot Corner. It's now time for our rapid fire segment. We'll be asking each other three questions each, and we'll have 30 seconds to answer. Harrison, we're going to start with you. Your first question is, can the Brewers play this well all year long and have a legitimate shot at the playoffs this year?
No, they cannot. I'd say right now they're doing what the Mets always do in April. Play well and then fade away. I know they swept the Red Sox at Fenway and they swept the Pirates, but the team they need to beat, who they haven't beaten yet, is the St. Louis Cardinals. They've already lost 2 games in a 3-game series, and the St. Louis Cardinals, when it comes to crunch time, know what they're doing. Yeah. And even right now, even though the Brewers have had this great start, the Cardinals are only 1 game behind. So when it's all said and done, I see the Cardinals winning the division, the Reds finishing in second, the Pirates third, and I'll give the Brewers 4th place. But they will certainly not make the playoffs.
That's rather than finishing in the early season anyway. No. But thanks for leaving out that they swept the Phillies. I appreciate that.
Anytime. I know you got to take what you can get.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to your second question. Besides the Brewers, who is the surprise team so far in 2014?
I'm picking a team that everyone picked well to do well last year, in the Toronto Blue Jays, actually. And they're getting all this, or they're getting led by a guy he's 35, but he's pitching like he's 25 right now, and Mark Burley. He's got a 3-0 record and a .86 ERA in 21 innings. I mean, who saw this coming? I know I didn't. I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I knew that.
Jose Bautista, he's got 5 home runs, and the thing with Toronto is they have room to grow. Edwin Encarnacion has no home runs yet. Reyes has been hurt since opening day, and Dickey's been ineffective. So if they get those 3 guys going, they're going to be even better.
Yeah, very true. All right, finally, going off your last question, who has been the disappointing team so far?
It's been the team I picked to be the surprise team, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are 4-13 and have had 2 guys demoted out of the rotation, in Trevor Cahill and Randall Delgado. Let me read you some stats here, all right? Trevor Cahill, 9.17 ERA in 4 starts. Brandon McCarthy, 7.78 ERA in 3 starts. Wade Miley, a respectable ERA in this rotation with a 5.04 ERA in 4 starts. Bronson Arroyo, 9.95 in 3 starts. I mean, that was good until yesterday when the Mets beat him, but, what are you going to do? And then Randall Delgado in 2 starts, 11.05 ERA. Just a train wreck.
Yeah. All right,
Absolute train wreck.
I think it's time for you to ask me my questions here.
All right. I'll be the host here for a little bit.
All right.
Switch some roles. Your first one, Brandon, is Orioles center fielder Adam Jones justified in saying that there's nothing special to him about Yankees pitcher Tanaka, that all this hype surrounding him is a little bit too much?
I think so. I'm going to back Adam Jones up here. For one reason, because I don't think he's the only player who's sick of hearing all this hype about Tanaka. And not just Tanaka. Every pitcher or player that comes, from overseas or Cuba or whatnot. Last year with Ryu, this year with Tanaka, maybe Darvish the year before. Every single time, we have all this hype surrounding this player, and he's yet to even play a game, in Major League Baseball yet. So I think it's right. He says, what do you say? Don't make it like he's the dirtiest guy in the world. He was 24-0 in Japan. Yeah, that was good, but I think Adam Jones was definitely justified there.
I totally agree. Especially Yu Darvish has said something too. If Yu Darvish, someone who's done something very similar to him and is getting less money and has proven more, then he's definitely a point there. And it didn't help that
Adam Jones went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts in his first time against Tanaka. But I'll leave that.
If you're gonna talk the talk, you got to walk the walk.
Exactly.
Brandon, your second question: will Matt Moore ever be the dominant pitcher we all thought he was going to be?
I want to say yes, just because I really like Matt Moore.
After that playoff game a couple years ago?
Exactly, but I think that was the peak, besides last year with his great first half, starting out 9-0. Then he kind of leveled out and was just average. But it's going to be difficult now with after coming off this Tommy John surgery. Not that he can't do it. There's been plenty of pitchers who've had great careers after having Tommy John. But for him, it's going to be kind of difficult. He's always has an average ERA and WHIP. Though he's kind of a strikeout hitter. So I think if he plays up to that more, he'll be
walks
very
have always
effective.
been an issue for him.
Walks is definitely. He needs to cut down on that. He needs to be more consistent. But I think he's on the right team in Tampa Bay to do it if he wants.
They're not going to give up on him.
No, and I think he will hopefully be the dominant pitcher we all thought he was.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know about him in 2012 when he started that playoff game. I thought he was going to be the best thing in the world.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping the best for him. Yeah. Finally, your last question. Chase Utley has gone off to an amazing start. Can he keep it up and be this productive all year? Let's see. Are you going to be biased here?
A little bit. I really want him to. He's not going to hit 500 all year long. He's
sure?
right around. Oh, I don't think so, but yeah. But he's at about like 49 right now. He's slugging like I think over 800, whatnot. It's unbelievable right now what he's doing. But that's Utley. When he's playing and when he's healthy, he's the best second baseman in the NL and probably the best second baseman besides Robinson Cano. So he works.
That's quite a statement right there.
No, but it's true. And he works really hard and does whatever it takes to be the best player that he can be. We've just seen the ball really well, and I think his knee problems are behind him, and so he's just performing really well, like the player we all know that he is.
All right, you heard it here first. A Phillies fan says Chase Utley's going to have a good year.
I'll leave that out of it. But all right, that'll do it for our rapid fire segment. After the break, we'll wrap up with our Speak Now segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back. It's time for our final segment, Speak Now, where we each have about a minute to discuss something from earlier in the show or just to bring up something that has been on our mind. Harrison, you can start.
All right, well, something that's made me happy, and I know my dad very happy lately, is that...
Not the Tigers, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Tiger Woods, actually.
Oh, okay.
But no, the Detroit Tigers. Ian Kinsler, he's looked great. He's been playing good defense, hitting about 300. Rajah Davis, their new left fielder, he's stealing bases left on right, and more importantly, he's getting on base. Like Hatterberg for Moneyball. He's hitting over 300 on base percentage, hovering around 400, so he's doing really well. And something that I know is making my dad happy is Prince Fielder and Johnny Peralta are both struggling in Texas and St. Louis, respectively. Fielder, he had his first Texas home run yesterday, but
took him a while.
Took him a while. I mean, in that ballpark and that lineup, there's no excuse. I mean, he's been hitting around 150, 160 all year. And Johnny Peralta, he just got his average up to 150 with a couple of good games because he was hitting like 075 for the first 2 weeks. So it's really nice to see that Dave Dombrowski made some good moves in getting Kinsler, getting Rajah Davis, and even getting Nick Castellanos a chance to not only play, but play his natural position of third base because he was supposed to be in the outfield if they brought back if they kept Fielder and Cabrera was at third.
Yeah.
So I know it's early, but I think they're going to pan out here, all these moves.
That's very true. And real quick, I just want to go back to talk about the replay real quick. I just threw out some numbers I didn't get to say earlier. So far, through Monday, there was 89 challenges so far. 33 were confirmed and 30 were overturned. The other calls, they stood because there was, not enough evidence, to overturn it. So that's about 30% of the calls that are being overturned, which is not a lot, but it's a decent amount, which just goes to show that the umpires are doing the job, and that maybe there wasn't a huge need for replay in the first place, but obviously now it's here. It's obviously going to stay. But it just goes to show that all those other plays that they're spending 4 minutes looking at it again and again and again. They can't tell in replay. How is the umpire going to be able to tell, in the moment, in real time? So I think more people just need to give the replay system more time and give it a chance. I really think it'll work out in the long haul.
Believe me, even though I'm not a fan of it, I want it to work out. I really do because I hate seeing calls get missed. I know they usually even out, but it'd be a great thing for the game if we could find a way to not take much time away from the pitchers and delay the game and actually get the calls that need to be made.
I think there's still some wrinkles that need to be ironed out, but I think overall it'll work.
I really hope so.
Yeah. All right, well, that'll do it for another episode of The Hot Corner. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, if you're interested in joining LTV, like us on Facebook or email us at ltv@tcnj.edu. For Harrison Duhr, I'm Brandon Magown. Have a good one.